Cancel the entire $4 billion deal.
The room held its breath. Crystal chandeliers bathed the Four Seasons ballroom in golden light, but no amount of sparkle could hide the tension. A woman in a white gown soaked in red wine stood in the center, her eyes colder than steel. 5 words left her lips. Cancel the entire $4 billion deal. Every head turned, every laugh froze. Moments ago, she had been humiliated, shoved onto marble floors, laughed at, recorded by dozens of smartphones. To them, she was nothing but a clumsy outsider, an inconvenience to be mocked. But now that same woman was about to change everything. Her name was Selena Warren, a young, black, self-made billionaire who had risen from the crowded streets of Atlanta to command a $68 billion empire spanning tech, clean energy, finance, and real estate. But none of that mattered to the Langston family, the elite who thought their legacy made them untouchable. They saw skin. They saw an intruder. They didn't see power. Raised by her grandmother in a one-bedroom apartment, Selena had been taught to carry herself with dignity, to speak with purpose, to never let anyone define her worth. By 10, she was fluent in stocks and compound interest. By 13, she had devoured her library's business section. At 17, she earned a full scholarship to Stanford, and after years of being underestimated, ignored, and dismissed as a diversity statistic, she launched Warren Equities from her tiny kitchen. 2 decades later, Selena owns skyscrapers in New York, solar farms in Arizona, tech startups across Silicon Valley, and logistics networks in Texas. Forbes, Time, The Wall Street Journal, they all knew her name. But more importantly, she never forgot her roots. She funded scholarships, rebuilt schools, mentored young founders, creating opportunities where none existed. And tonight, the Langstons would learn why respect was not optional. Greg Langston, patriarch of Langston Capital, projected confidence to the world while secretly hemorrhaging cash from failed deals. His wife, Clara, curated perfection, while their children, Brad, reckless, and Lydia, calculating, thrived on cruelty disguised as charm. They thought this gala, their $4 billion lifeline, was untouchable. Selena stepped into the lobby. The valet, without a glance, guided her toward the service entrance. A security guard demanded ID, scanning her like a counterfeit. A room full of socialites whispered judgment as she passed, and yet she didn't flinch. Not a tremor, not a flinch, just quiet, unshakable grit. She observed, she cataloged. Every glance, every smirk, every whisper, all would be, in a few moments, the stage wouldn't belong to them anymore. Pause here. Picture yourself in Selena's shoes, humiliated, underestimated, yet unbroken. What would you do? Drop a comment with the word grit if you'd rise the way she did. The ballroom shimmered under golden light, but the glow could not hide the tension that now clung to every corner. Selena stood near the bar, sipping water, unnoticed, cataloging faces, whispers, and gestures. She had been in the room less than 10 minutes, yet she already knew who they were, the ones who thought power came from wealth, not character. Lydia Langston, in her red satin gown, zeroed in on Selena. A queen in heels, a smirk on her lips, she whispered to Brad, who grinned like mischief incarnate. Then came the move. Calculated, cruel, and precise. Lydia's pointed toe clipped Selena's foot. A subtle strike, but enough. The glass of red wine tipped, crimson spread across silk like an open wound. Selena hit the marble floor, laughter erupted, phones were raised, Brad howled, and Clara barked. Staff should use the service entrance. But in that moment, the humiliation was powerless against what was rising inside Selena. It wasn't rage, it wasn't revenge, it was control. She rose slowly, every motion deliberate. Shoulders back, chin up, heels clicking against the marble like the drumbeat of authority. Then the phone, a simple call. Helen, cancel everything related to the Langston deal, effective immediately. The words were quiet, yet in the ballroom, silence roared, guests whispered, phones lowered, Brad's laughter faltered. Clara barked again, clueless. Selena let the words hang like a guillotine. Yes, she said when asked if a press statement should follow, and make sure it includes why. Heads turned, phones recorded, reality shifted. The very woman they mocked held the fortune and the power of the deal. She was no guest. She was the architect of their survival or their downfall. A polished metal card, minimalist and platinum, revealed her name, Selena Warren. Recognition spread like wildfire. Whispers became murmurs. Greg Langston froze mid-conversation. He had been negotiating with her for 6 months, never seeing her face. We haven't met, But you've been negotiating with me all along, she said. Every eye in the room caught the weight of her words. Every person understood suddenly that the hierarchy they relied on was a lie. And then, the briefcase. Attorneys, poised and silent, entered like storm clouds. A single sheet of paper, all pending contracts, agreements, and investments terminated. The room's smug arrogance shattered, emails pinged, investors murmured, sponsors withdrew. The Langston empire began crumbling in real time. Imagine that power, that clarity. What would it feel like to have everyone's assumptions shattered in a single moment? The video clips of her fall, once meant for mockery, became evidence of dignity and strength. Within hours, social media celebrated her, not for revenge, but for moral clarity. Hashtags exploded, networks picked up the story. The world watched as a billionaire, underestimated and humiliated, turned the tables with nothing but calm and conviction. The fall of the Langstons was swift, brutal, and absolute. Brad, once a carefree trust fund heir, stared at his phone, watching the clips of his laughter, his mockery, replay endlessly across feeds. His sports car, his apartments, even his social standing, all evaporated. The network of shallow friends he had relied on, gone, disappeared the moment the facade crumbled. Lydia Langston faced her own reckoning. Her carefully curated influencer empire collapsed overnight. Sponsorships vanished, followers unfollowed in waves. Screenshots of her cruelty circulated with captions like, "This aged like milk." Apologies were ignored. The digital world had no mercy for arrogance or cruelty. Clara Langston, the matriarch who once commanded charity galas like a queen, found herself exiled from the world she worshipped. Invitations vanished, her influence dissolved, her prestige stripped away. Even her closest allies kept their distance. The gilded life of privilege she had relied upon became a prison of shame. Greg Langston, patriarch of the dynasty, faced the ultimate collapse. Board members resigned, credit lines were pulled, real estate partners withdrew overnight. The SEC launched a full investigation into years of hidden debt and questionable offshore dealings. The mogul, once celebrated in Forbes and Time, became a cautionary tale. His name became synonymous with hubris, mismanagement, and the consequences of underestimating others. Through it all, Selena Warren remained composed. She did not gloat. She did not bask in the destruction. She had delivered justice, yes, but her power lay not in revenge, but in clarity, in the principle that respect is not optional, and cruelty can cost everything. The $4 billion she withdrew from the failed deal was redirected with purpose. It became the Warren Collective, an investment in minority-owned businesses, underfunded schools, and first-generation entrepreneurs. Selena's words in a press interview echoed louder than any deal ever could. They tried to strip me of dignity. I chose to give dignity to others instead. That is power. That is leadership. That is legacy. Now think, what would you have done in her shoes? Would you have retaliated, stayed silent, or created something greater like Selena did? The moral of this story is simple but profound. Wealth is transient. Titles are fleeting. Influence fades. What lasts is character, integrity, and the courage to uphold dignity, your own and others. Celeste Warren didn't just cancel a $4 billion deal. She redefined what it means to lead, proving that true power lies in compassion, vision, and moral courage. And for the Langstons, they learned the hard way that when respect is denied, the consequences are swift, public, and unforgiving. Every act of cruelty left a receipt, and in the end, the world was watching. From the other side of silence, toss stories. Drop a comment with respect and share where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. Because respect costs nothing, but ignoring it can cost everything.